Bitcoin Business: Investing, Trading, Mining, and Storing Tips. Written by Giles Reeves. Narrated by Warren Seegers. Introduction. It's not an actual coin. It's cryptocurrency, a digital form of payment that is produced or mined by lots of people worldwide. It allows peer-to-peer transactions instantly, worldwide, for free, or at a very low cost. Bitcoin was invented after decades of research into cryptography by the software developer Satoshi Nakamoto, believed to be a pseudonym, who designed the algorithm and introduced it in 2009. His true identity remains a mystery. The currency is not backed by a tangible commodity, such as gold or silver. Bitcoins are traded online, which makes them a commodity in themselves. Bitcoin is an open-source product, accessible by anyone who is a user. All you need is an email, internet address, and money to get started. Where does it come from? Bitcoin is mined on a distributed computer network of users running specialized software. The network solves certain mathematical proofs and searches for a particular data sequence or block that produces a particular pattern when the BCT algorithm is applied to it. A match produces a Bitcoin. It's complex and time and energy consuming. Only 21 million Bitcoins are ever to be mined. About 11 million are currently in circulation. The math problems the network computers solve get progressively more difficult to keep the mining operations and supply in check. This network also validates all the transactions through cryptography. How does Bitcoin work? Internet users transfer digital assets or bits to each other on a network. There is no online bank. Rather, Bitcoin has been described as an internet-wide distributed ledger. Users buy Bitcoin with cash or by selling a product or service for Bitcoin. Bitcoin wallets store and use a digital currency. Users may sell out of the virtual ledger by trading their Bitcoins to someone else who wants in. Anyone can do this anywhere in the world. There are smartphone apps for conducting mobile Bitcoin transactions, and Bitcoin exchanges are populating the internet. How is Bitcoin valued? Bitcoin is not held or controlled by a financial institution. It is completely decentralized. Unlike real-world money, it cannot be devalued by governments or banks. Instead, Bitcoin's values lie simply in its acceptance between users as a form of payment and because its supply is finite. Its global currency values fluctuate according to the supply and demand and market speculation. As more people create wallets and hold and spend Bitcoin, and more businesses accept it, Bitcoin's value will rise. Banks are now trying to value Bitcoin, and some investment websites predict the price of Bitcoin will be several $1,000s in 2014. What are the benefits? There are benefits to consumers and merchants that want to use this as a payment option. 1. Fast transactions. Bitcoin is transferred instantly over the internet. 2. No fees or low fees. Unlike credit cards, Bitcoin can be used for free or very low fees. Without the centralized institution as middlemen, there are no authorizations and fees required. This improves profit margin sales. 3. Eliminates fraud risk. Only the Bitcoin owner can send payment to the intended recipient, who is the only one who can receive it. The network knows a transfer has occurred and transactions are validated. They cannot be challenged or taken back. This is big for online merchants who are often subject to credit card processor assessments of whether or not a transaction is fraudulent, or businesses that pay the high price of credit card chargebacks. 4. Data is secure. As we have seen in recent hacks on national retailers' payment processing systems, the internet is not always a secure place for private data. With Bitcoin, users do not give up private information. They have two keys, a public key that serves as the Bitcoin address and a private key with personal data. Transactions are signed digitally by combining the public and private keys. A mathematical function is applied and a certificate is generated proving the user initiated the transaction. Digital signatures are unique to each transaction and cannot be reused. The merchant and recipient never sees your secret information, like name, number, or physical address. So it's somewhat anonymous, but it is traceable to the Bitcoin address on the public key. 5. Convenient payment system. Merchants can use Bitcoin entirely as a payment system. They do not have to hold any Bitcoin currency since Bitcoin can be converted to dollars. Consumers or merchants can trade in and out of Bitcoin and other currencies at any time. 6. International payments. Bitcoin is used around the world. E-commerce merchants and service providers can easily accept international payments, which open up new potential marketplaces for them. 7. Easy to track. The network tracks and permanently logs every transaction in the Bitcoin blockchain or database. In the case of possible wrongdoing, it is easier for law enforcement officials to trace these transactions. 8. Micropayments are possible. Bitcoin can be divided down to 1/100 millionth. So running small payments of $1 or less becomes a free or near-free transaction. This could be a real boon for convenience stores, coffee shops, and subscription-based websites. Still a little confused? Here are a few examples of transactions. Bitcoin in the retail environment. At checkout, the payer uses a smartphone app to scan a QR code with all the transaction information needed to transfer the Bitcoin to the retailer. Tapping the Confirm button completes the transaction. If the user doesn't own any Bitcoin, the network converts dollars in his account into the digital currency. The retailer can convert the Bitcoin into dollars if it wants to. There were no or very low processing fees instead of the 2 to 3%. No hackers can steal personal consumer information, and there is no risk of fraud. Chapter 1. How to get Bitcoin. If you're looking to get into the game of Bitcoin and hold your own coins, there are many options available. Here are some of the different methods available for acquiring some Bitcoin of your own. 1. Buy them from an exchange. One of the most common ways to acquire Bitcoins is through an exchange. Websites like Coinbase allow you to purchase Bitcoin. They don't sell Bitcoin themselves, but how it works is the exchange pairs you as a buyer with a seller who is selling for whatever price you're looking for. This sounds like a great option, and in some ways it is, but it has its disadvantages as well. One of the major ones is that the exchanges require you to add your personal information to them via Know Your Client legislation that's present in many countries in regards to currency-related businesses. This might not be a concern for everyone, but in a post-NSA scandal era, it's becoming more and clearer, at least to me, that data you put out there is more accessible than you think. I might be a little paranoid, but who knows what might happen in the future? After all, just 10 years ago, the idea that the government is spying on everything we do was purely a realm of tinfoil hat conspiracy theorists, and now it's just common knowledge. Who knows what's next? Fortunately, there are other options. 2. Mine them. Of course, there's only one place Bitcoin really comes from: mining. Every Bitcoin you'll ever own, see, or hear about was at one point mined via the Bitcoin mining network. If you find yourself in possession of a mining rig, go ahead and mine away. Or if you have a computer fast enough to make it worthwhile, that's cool too. But be careful. If your computer isn't cooled properly, you run the risk of overheating it, which could potentially brick it. Frankly, mining with your computer really isn't worth it. Not anymore. As the mining difficulty increases, it becomes more and more difficult to gain any profit from it. And unless you have a dedicated mining rig, your chances of getting any sort of return from mining is pretty low. 3. Buy them from a private broker. If you're able to find a private broker, you can hook up with them in exchange. This has some obvious benefits, but it also has its drawbacks. First off, it's completely anonymous. Even if you meet in person, there's no reason you need to use your real name or any detail about yourself other than your wallet number so they can transfer the funds to you. And if you pay cash, the banks can't trace it either. So if that's a concern for you, you're in business. But of course, with anonymity comes some risk as well. Dealing with an exchanger, the risk of getting ripped off is lower. Of course, exchanges have disappeared in the past, taking everyone's Bitcoins with them. But the bigger, more established exchanges have had time to build their brand and prove themselves as more trustworthy. You may pay a price premium for that anonymity as well. It can be as much as 15 to 20% higher than the average exchange prices. But again, if anonymity is important to you, that's a small price to pay. When you trade with someone anonymously, you don't have the security of the exchanges. They could be legit and honest, but they could just as easily be shady and willing to rip you off. That said, buying from a private broker is the most preferred method of purchasing Bitcoin. But it's important to have safety measures in place. Otherwise, you're leaving yourself open to getting burned. 4. Accept them as payment for goods and services. This one is so obvious, yet often people forget about it. Amidst all the investors getting involved with Bitcoin and the excitement around the movement, it's easy to forget that Bitcoin is not just a hot commodity or a high-value stock. It's designed as a form of currency. And if you run a business, you can accept Bitcoin as payment instead of cash. There are many different businesses which accept Bitcoin as a form of payment. In fact, several directories have popped up to help people find local businesses which accept Bitcoin. And if you're a denizen of the web, and if you're reading this book, you obviously are, there are tons of places which accept Bitcoin as payment. Tiger Direct, Reddit, and WordPress are just a few of them. In short, there are many different ways to acquire Bitcoin. Some are easier than others. But with so many options, you're certain to find something which works for you. Get into the game now. Don't miss out. Choosing a Bitcoin exchange. The financial world has evolved over time and now involves various complex exchanges. Among these advancements is the emergence of online trading, whereby people can perform transactions on the internet with others who are thousands of miles away. In fact, the bulk of the international business is carried out on the virtual platform where large amounts of money are transferred at the click of a button. Most businesses have online sites to cater to distant clients, while there have emerged businesses that are solely online and have no physical addresses. Among these online exchanges are the use of Bitcoins to trade in property and stock. It would be cumbersome to use them as an individual, and you need the help of a Bitcoin broker. They are normally found in Bitcoin brokerage firms that cater to clients' needs. The following are guides to choosing a Bitcoin broker. 1. Liquidity. You will need to find a firm that is stable enough to handle your Bitcoins to ensure maximum returns on your investments. The credibility of a broker is measured using the liquidity index. This is the ability of a firm to trade in your Bitcoins and give you profit while retaining its value. A broker with a high number of sellers and buyers has increased liquidity. To get a broker with the highest liquidity, search for one that has the highest trading volume. 2. Cost of trading. Brokers rely on volume of Bitcoin to sustain their trade. The more Bitcoin they trade in, the more the profit they make. They charge a certain percentage on the trader depending on the number of Bitcoins. However, the method of calculating costs by the way of percentage proves to be very expensive to the broker over time. Choose a firm that uses more stable rates to avoid sudden fluctuations in profit. 3. Proximity. The trade of Bitcoin is a relatively new concept. This means that there are not yet any regulations governing the exchange due to its lack of highlighting by the media. However, some countries have started assuming control over the activities of brokerage firms to prevent the proceeds from being channeled into illegal businesses such as drugs, money laundering, and fraud. Choose a firm that is nearest to your locality to enable fast contact in case of anything. 4. Accessibility. Being an online exchange method, Bitcoins are prone to hacking by malicious parties. Hacking would be primarily to alter figures, cause a drop in the value of Bitcoins, and profit the hackers. Choose a firm that uses the latest anti-hacking software to ensure the safety of your money. Chapter 2. The Bitcoin Economy. The Bitcoin economy is increasing at a rapid rate, and more startups enter the sphere and try to offer traditional services but using Bitcoins. You have everything from a marketplace of books, aka Amazon style, but only in Bitcoins, to advertising platforms similar to Google AdSense, but in the Bitcoin economy. As Bitcoins go more mainstream, these are only going to increase in number and scope, thus presenting a wonderful opportunity to get on board with this at an early stage. The big advantage of entering the Bitcoin economy now is that you'll get in on this technology at the innovator stage, and you'll have the opportunity to be one of the leaders. Businesses that operate in the current Bitcoin economy also enjoy free publicity of their business within the Bitcoin community. Everything from Gift that accepts Bitcoins to purchase store gift cards to Everbar that became popular in the highly competitive bar and lounge scene in New York by accepting Bitcoin as payment currency for drinks. The advantages of being part of the Bitcoin community should be obvious. Literally zero transaction fees for transcontinental money transfers, instant transfer of money without third-party delays, and ability to reach everyone on the planet who has access to the internet. The micro-Bitcoin economy is already flourishing. Now you can do the traditional micro tasks from agencies on the Bitcoin platform and earn your first Bitcoins that way. If you're a business, there are plenty of good opportunities to advertise your business to the Bitcoin audience through services like CoinURL. On a personal finance front, it is best to keep a secure wallet online at one of the trusted wallet services and then start earning some small amounts of Bitcoin just to get a feel for how the economy functions and how you can leverage this. If you have access to both fiat and Bitcoin in a liquid market, there are plenty of opportunities where you can pay in one and receive in the other to get the most out of your business. This market is still not perfect, and there are arbitrage opportunities through exchanges and goods and services. Being a part of the Bitcoin economy at this exciting stage should prove highly beneficial to your business as well. You will be able to reach an audience that would otherwise be very hard to woo, the people at the technology forefronts of our society. How to make money from Bitcoin online. It is now the eve of 2018, and Bitcoin is at the top of the mountain. The bad days seem to be gone. And although a Bitcoin bubble can happen any time, there is no arguing that cryptocurrency is here to stay. The sooner you get involved in making money from Bitcoin, the better ground you will have in 5 years when it becomes an established currency worldwide. And if the bubble scares you, investing in Bitcoin is just one of the options, but not the only one. Bubble or not, you can still make tons of money from Bitcoin. And bubble or not, the value will rise in the future because people are just getting involved in it. First, make your own Bitcoin faucet. A Bitcoin faucet is a project in which you create a website or app for users to visit. You monetize a site with ads that pay in Bitcoin. The ads pay a small amount of Bitcoins per page, click, or conversion. To encourage a large amount of visitors to keep navigating the site on a daily and hourly basis, you offer to split the revenue from the ads with them, paying in Satoshi, which is basically Bitcoin cents. To claim their winnings, the users need to earn a certain amount of Satoshi, and payments are conducted on a weekly basis. Faucets are paying between 100,000 to 400,000 Satoshi per hour. Some offer premium payments for seniority or task achievements. Faucets began to operate with the solving of CAPTCHAs and nothing else, a very boring passive income task. New faucets are building in games where users kill aliens, feed critters, or kill robots to earn Satoshis. The more they advance in the game, the more they earn. So this is a great idea for your own faucet. The days where every video game player gets paid for playing is just around the corner. Take into consideration that Bitcoin faucets tend to default due to underfunding or liquidity. The owners of faucets do not receive their payments fast enough to pay a fast-growing user base. They also tend to be hot targets for hackers. Second, generate passive income from your Bitcoin blog. Since Bitcoin is so new compared to other targeted contents, there's lots of room for new bloggers and sites. New businesses related to Bitcoin spring up every day. Anything from Bitcoin exchanges, trading, play money sites, faucets, online shops, and mining are avid for the advertorial space. Creating a Bitcoin blog and monetizing can be slow at the beginning, but the constant publishing of rich content will get some advertisers interested in no less than 9 months. You can join affiliate programs or establish your own Bitcoin shop. Bitcoin faucets, wallets, and exchanges pay large commissions per referral. Third, small earnings from Bitcoin faucets. My first advice involved creating your very own faucet. If that is a bit too hard, then try joining one and reaping of its benefits. Instead of making around $800 a month, it would be more like $30 to $100 a month for a monotonous task. But it's still money and a first step to begin building up your bank. Take note that Bitcoin faucets tend to be faulty and disappear very fast, so make sure you join reputable ones. These are also fun because you get to play games while earning money. Fourth, create a Bitcoin product or a service online shop. Bitcoin is still hard to monetize and convert into USD and other hard currencies. Not that it is extremely hard, but adds some fee and taxes to the process. Although it is still one of the cheapest ways to send money to anywhere in the world, buying something with Bitcoin is a great way of making something useful of them and helps skip the fees and tax of exchanges, especially if you can then resell those goods and turn into hard cash. Where will Bitcoin boom next? Bitcoin is a virtual currency that doesn't rely on a central authority for bookkeeping, but instead it's completely open source, peer-to-peer network for money, something unparalleled in the history of human economics. But are the people, their representatives, and businesses ready for this new form of currency? Bitcoin can take off in some places and countries sooner than expected depending on the political climate. If a government destroys and debases its currency, then it's bound to grow in popularity. That's what happened in Argentina, when the government converted local currency-denominated bonds into US dollar-denominated bonds at an exchange rate that was fixed by the government. Bitcoin use in the country shot through the roof following this, and it is still accelerating, measured in terms of wallet downloads per month. Cyprus was another good example. When the government tried to seize people's money, Bitcoin took off in the country because it's far more fluid on a world scale and can be sent instantaneously to another person anywhere in the world without the need of any government intervention. This also means that, realistically, the government cannot control the supply and demand of Bitcoin within its borders. Of course, poor governance is only one side of the equation. Economics dictates the other. Bitcoin takes off in places that thrive on entrepreneurship and where policies are favorable. Business owners will find the use of Bitcoin to be incredibly more efficient than the existing payment system that the world has that is based on credit cards, because merchants need to pay the credit card companies anywhere from 2 to 4%. If all transactions were purely in Bitcoin, without any conversion to fiat at all, then the transaction fees for the business is zero. Literally zero. You can send and receive money for free through the Bitcoin network. That's what makes the economics of using Bitcoin so powerful. Some of the cities that are ahead in the innovation include the familiar names like San Francisco and New York, but also lesser-known entrepreneurial cities like Berlin, which is a huge thriving market for Bitcoins. When people in a city or country see Bitcoin as a store of value and simultaneously see it as a payment system that eases the current burdens on merchants, Bitcoin has the potential to take off. It has happened in the past and it is likely to happen in the future. Of course, you always need the entrepreneurial spirit and risk-taking to dethrone a decades-old existing incumbency. But the good news is, it's happening all over the world simultaneously. Chapter 3. Bitcoin and its impact on currency. Bitcoin is a revolutionary kind of currency that was introduced in 2009. It functions by enabling transactions to go through without the need for the middleman. Therefore, no banks are required. You also get the benefits of no transaction fees and no need giving out your real name. With such flexibility, Bitcoin has become widely accepted by both consumers and merchants. It also can be used to purchase web hosting services, food online, and just about any service you can think of online. Bitcoin has impacted much on the currency arena. It can be easily utilized to purchase merchandise anonymously. It also provides the benefits of easy and cheap international payments and is not subjected or limited to any country or regulation. Some people see Bitcoin as a vehicle for investment and buy Bitcoin by trusting that they will increase in value. To get Bitcoins, you can purchase on an exchange marketplace that allows people to buy or sell them, utilizing other various currencies. The transferring of Bitcoin is easily done by forwarding Bitcoins to another person utilizing mobile apps or their PCs online. It's just like sending cash digitally. With Bitcoins, you have a currency value that can be stored in what's called a digital wallet, which subsists either within the cloud or on a computer. The digital wallet is like a virtual bank account that lets account holders within it send or receive Bitcoins, purchase goods and services, or store them. Although most bank accounts are insured by the FDIC, Bitcoin wallets are not, yet they are safe, secure, and have payment flexibility benefits. Unlike the US dollar, gold, silver, or some other precious metals, Bitcoins are scarce, and this scarcity is algorithmic. In terms of international remittance, Bitcoin is a winner. There is no worry about fraud or security. At some money exchange businesses, for instance, migrant workers could utilize Bitcoin to send payments from one nation to another via email. In 2014, the U.S. government was scheduled to auction off about 30,000 BTCs that were confiscated from the shutdown of Silk Road, an online black market operation. At that time, the value of Bitcoins was $633.84. Today, one Bitcoin is worth about $12,000 US. If you take a good look at some of the local merchants downtown, the inner cities, or online, you will see the Bitcoin logo acceptance in the window or on the door. Bitcoin is still maturing and is making a tremendous progression towards being one of the most sensible currencies ever created. Big businesses that accept Bitcoin. Bitcoin is hot. It rose to $16,000 per coin recently. People are scrambling to get a hold of it. But can you actually pay for things with this digital cash? Yes. This is by no means all the businesses accepting Bitcoin, but it is an interesting list of big names to show you that it is now a serious currency to consider owning. 1. Dell now accepts Bitcoins. They have a partnership with Coinbase, one of the most trusted exchanges. 2. Dish Network, an internet service provider. 3. Newegg, huge retailer of computer electronics and hardware. 4. Microsoft, add money to your account with Bitcoin to buy apps, games, and videos. 5. Tiger Direct, a California-based retailer that offers electronics, computers, and computer components that caters to businesses and corporate customers. 6. Virgin Galactic. The Richard Branson-led aviation company started accepting Bitcoin for customers who are interested in flying to space and paying for it using Bitcoin. 7. WordPress, the popular blogging platform used by some of the biggest media companies in the world, has accepted Bitcoin since 2012. 8. The Pirate Bay, a huge BitTorrent directory with a large library of movies, television shows, software, and music, started accepting Bitcoin in April 2013. 9. Reddit. Reddit allows users to purchase Reddit Gold using Bitcoins. 10. Zynga, a popular mobile gaming company, loves Bitcoin. 11. OkCupid, the online dating site, started accepting Bitcoin for premium services in April of 2013. 12. Memory Dealers. Memory Dealers carries a large range of networking hardware equipment and computer memory. 13. Cheap Air. This California-based online travel booking website started accepting Bitcoin in November of 2013. 14. The Sacramento Kings NBA franchise takes Bitcoin for food, clothing, and beer. 15. Namecheap. This service offers inexpensive domain registration. It started allowing customers to pay with Bitcoin in 2013. 16. Intuit, an American software company that develops financial and tax preparation software and related services for small businesses, accountants, and individuals. 17. Bloomberg.com, online newspaper. 18. PizzaForCoins.com. Domino's Pizza signed up. 19. Steam, desktop gaming platform. 20. Subway, eat fresh. 21. A-class limousine luxury service will pick you up. 22. SunTimes.com, Chicago-based online newspaper. 23. Rakuten, a Japanese e-commerce giant. 24. MovieTickets.com, online movie ticket exchange and retailer. 25. YachtBase.com, Croatian yacht charter company. 26. Expedia.com, online travel booking agency. 27. Save the Children, global charity organization. There are thousands more, and hundreds and thousands to come. Bitcoin is just an infant. More and more businesses will realize the value of this magic currency soon. Many wealthy investors are buying it up like crazy. Maybe they know something the general public needs to know. Chapter 4. Investing Strategies for Bitcoin. This digital rush of money that is sweeping the global investors is not getting easier, but also riskier every day. While it was initially a simple peer-to-peer system for small transactions, it is now used for major investments in foreign luxury purchases, which has introduced newer strategies and uses. How does it really work? Bitcoin is a currency just like any other. It can not only be used to buy and sell, but can be used for investing and sharing, and can even be stolen. While the initial introduction of the technology came with a desktop program, it can now be directly operated through a smartphone application, which allows you to immediately buy, sell, trade, or even cash your Bitcoins for dollars. Investment with Bitcoins has become very popular, with major sums of money being put in every day. As a new investor, the rule remains the same as investing with real cash. Do not invest more than you can afford to lose, and do not invest without a goal. For every trade, keep certain milestones in mind to buy low and sell high. The buy low and sell high strategy is not as easily implemented as said. A great way to succeed faster when you decide to trade Bitcoins, however, is to learn the technicalities. Like cash investments, there are now several Bitcoin charting tools to record the marketing trends and make predictions to help you make investment decisions. Even as a beginner, learning how to use charting tools and how to read charts can go a long way. A normal chart will usually include the opening price, the closing price, the highest price, the lowest price, and the trading range, which are essentials you need before making any sales or purchase. Other components will give you different information about the market. Moreover, new investors will often quickly open unprofitable positions. With this, however, remember that you have to pay an interest rate for every 24 hours that the position is kept open, with the exception of the first 24 hours that are free. Therefore, unless you have sufficient balance to cover the high interest rate, do not keep any unprofitable position open for more than 24 hours. While Bitcoin trading still has its drawbacks, like transactions taking too long to complete and no reversing option, it can benefit you greatly with investing, provided that you take small steps in the right direction. Note: a good investment strategy. If you are interested in Bitcoin as an investment, you might follow my simple investment strategy. First, buy Bitcoins and keep them for a relatively long time. Resist the temptation to buy more or sell unless you thought about it very carefully. Second, if you are a technical expert, you might want to make bets on emerging cryptocurrencies, but only for a short time and only at the beginning. This behavior is more speculation than wise investing. Do it at your own risk. Third, do not daily trade. Unless you are a professional trader, do not daily trade with Bitcoin. Commissions are high, You are probably influenced by something you just read, and you are defenseless against market manipulation and pump and dump schemes, which are still very common. Fourth, have a plan. Bitcoin investors need to have a strategy. It could be trying to pay off student loans, trying to retire, etc. These different strategies will provide a framework to make a risk-reward trade-off decision. Chapter 5. How to mine Bitcoin. Before you start mining Bitcoin, it's useful to understand what Bitcoin mining really means. Bitcoin mining is legal and is accomplished by running SHA-256 double-round hash verification processes in order to validate Bitcoin's transactions and provide the requisite security for the public ledger of the Bitcoin network. The speed at which you mine Bitcoins is measured in hashes per second. The Bitcoin network compensates Bitcoin miners for their effort by releasing Bitcoins to those who contribute the needed computational power. This comes in the form of both newly issued Bitcoins and from the transaction fees included in the transaction validated when mining Bitcoins. The more computing power you contribute, then the greater your share of the reward. Of course, there's only one place Bitcoin really comes from: mining. Every Bitcoin you'll ever own, see, or hear about was at one point mined via the Bitcoin mining network. If you find yourself in possession of a mining rig, go ahead and mine away. Or if you have a computer fast enough to make it worthwhile, that's cool too. But be careful. If your computer isn't cooled properly, you run the risk of overheating it, which could potentially break it. Frankly, mining with your computer isn't really worth it. Not anymore. As the mining difficulty increases, it becomes more and more difficult to gain any profit from it. And unless you have a dedicated mining rig, your chances of getting any sort of return from mining is pretty low. For Bitcoins, there is an alternative way to hold the necessary records of the transaction history of the entire circulation. And all this is managed via a decentralized manner. The ledger that facilitates the process is known as the blockchain. The essence of the ledger might require tons of newsprint for appearing regularly at all popular Bitcoin news. Blockchain expands every minute, existing on the machines involved in the huge Bitcoin network. People may question the validity, even authenticity, of these transactions and their recordings into blockchain. This too is, however, justified through the process of Bitcoin mining. Mining enables the creation of new Bitcoin and compiling transactions to the ledger. Mining essentially entails solving complex mathematical calculations, and the miners employ immense computer power to solve it. The individual or pool that solves the puzzle plays a subsequent block and wins a reward too. And how mining can avoid double spending. Almost every 10 minutes, outstanding transactions are mined into a block. So, any inconsistency or illegitimacy is completely ruled out. For Bitcoins, mining is not spoken of in a traditional sense of the term. Bitcoins are mined by utilizing cryptography. A hash function termed as double SHA-256 is employed. But how difficult is it to mine Bitcoins? This can be another query. This depends a lot on the efforts and computing power being employed into mining. Another factor worth mentioning is the software protocol. For every block, difficulty entailed in the mining of Bitcoins is adjusted by itself simply to maintain the protocol. In turn, the pace of block generation is kept consistent. A Bitcoin difficulty chart is a perfect measure to demonstrate the mining difficulty over time. The difficulty level adjusts itself to go up or down in a directional proportional manner, depending on the computational power, whether it's being fueled or taken off. As the number of miners rise, a percentage of the profits deserved by the participants diminishes. Everyone ends up with smaller slices of the profit. Mining Bitcoins. In simple terms, we can define Bitcoin mining as the process of adding transactions to your ledger. The process aids in confirming that enough computational effort is devoted to a block. The process also creates new Bitcoins in each block. To mine, you should take a look at the transactions in a block and then verify their validity. You should then select the most recent transactions in the header of the most recent block and insert them into the new block as a hash. Before a new block is added to the local blockchain, you have to solve the proof of work problem. This is a problem that is designed to ensure that the new block to be created is difficult, and the data used in making the block satisfies the laid-down requirements. Bitcoin uses the Hashcash proof of work. Therefore, for you to solve the problem, you need to create a hash. How to create a hash? If you know how to do it, it's very easy to produce a hash from a collection of Bitcoin blocks. The unfortunate thing is you can't work out the data by simply looking at the hash. You need to test different blocks. Hashes are found at the blocks, and you have to combine them to prove that your data is legitimate. There are some miners who try to take the easy route by trying to fake out a transaction by changing an already stored block. You should note that each hash is unique and specific to a given block. Therefore, when you manipulate a given block, you change the hash. When a given miner runs a hashtag function on the manipulated block, the block is found to be fake, and you won't get any rewards. Mining rewards. When you successfully solve a proof of work, you get a mining reward. The number of Bitcoins in a reward depends on a number of factors, such as complexity of the problem. For you to make more money, you have to solve many problems. You also need to have high-speed computers to enable you to solve as many problems as possible. Currently, mining pools have sprung up and are found on a very simple concept. Here, a group of miners come together and work on a number of blocks. Once the problem is solved, the miners share the rewards. How to start Bitcoin mining. To begin mining Bitcoins, you'll need to acquire Bitcoin mining hardware. In the early days of Bitcoin, it was possible to mine with your computer CPU or high-speed video processor card. Today, that's no longer possible. Custom Bitcoin ASIC chips offer performance of up to 100 times the capability of older systems and have come to dominate the Bitcoin mining industry. Bitcoin mining with anything less will consume more in electricity than you are likely to earn. It's essential to mine Bitcoins with the best Bitcoin mining hardware built specifically for that purpose. Many companies started making chips that are exclusively used for running the cryptography algorithms of this process. Antminer is a popular ASIC hardware used for drawing out Bitcoin. Antminer comes with different specifications such as U1 and U2+. Both U1 and U2+ are about the same size. While U1 has a default hash rate of 1.6 GHz a second, U2+ has a hash rate of 2.0 GHz a second. The process of entering the Bitcoin's transaction in the public ledger is known as Bitcoin mining. They are introduced into the system through this process. The Bitcoin miner can earn transaction fees and subsidy for the newly created coins. ASIC, or Application-Specific Integrated Circuit, is a microchip specifically designed for this process. When compared to previous technologies, they are faster. The service offered by the Bitcoin miner is based on a specific performance. They provide a specific level of production capacity for a set price. With the right information and tools, Bitcoin mining is not only rewarding, it's also a fun and safe way to transfer money across the internet. To make as much money as possible, you need to have the right software and powerful computer hardware. Bitcoin cloud mining. If you want to invest in Bitcoin mining without the hassle of managing your own hardware, there is an alternative. You can use the cloud to earn your coins. Put very simply, cloud mining means using shared processing power run from remote data centers. One only needs a home computer for communications, optional local Bitcoin wallets, and so on. However, there are certain risks associated with cloud mining that investors need to understand prior to purchasing. Here's why you might want to consider cloud mining. A quiet, cool home. No constantly humming fans. No added electricity costs. No equipment to sell when mining ceases to be profitable. No ventilation problems with hot equipment. Reduced chance of being let down by mining equipment suppliers. Here's why you might not want to consider cloud mining. Risk of fraud. Opaque mining operations. Lower profits. The operators have to cover their cost after all. Contractual warnings that mining operations may cease depending on the price of Bitcoin. Lack of control and flexibility. Types of cloud mining. In general, there are 3 forms of remote mining available at the moment. 1. Hosted mining. Lease a mining machine that is hosted by the provider. 2. Virtually hosted mining. Create a general-purpose virtual private server and install your own mining software. 3. Leased hashing power. Lease an amount of hashing power without having a dedicated physical or virtual computer. This is by far the most popular method of cloud. Chapter 6. Why Bitcoin has the ability to take over as the world's currency. With recent research suggesting that the number of active Bitcoin users is set to approach 5 million by 2019. The issue of whether cryptocurrency has the potential of becoming a global currency is being hotly debated in both the technology and financial worlds. The key to this currency is that it enables quick and cheap online payments without the need for traditional banking channels. One of the biggest barriers that it has to overcome is the general acceptance of Bitcoin being safe and stable, as there is no government regulation in it, unlike most currencies. Instead, Bitcoin self-regulates and new coins are issued at a pace at which miners produce the coins. This is a positive, though, as it's designed to be difficult to create coins so that there is a steady stream of coins being produced. Bitcoins have been successful in becoming more mainstream, with companies such as Microsoft, Dell, and Tesla adopting the currency. But transactions are not just limited to bigger companies, with much smaller companies also following suit. You can now order flowers, pizza, or coffee with Bitcoins. As the growth in the adoption of the currency with retailers expands and awareness of the currency increases, so should confidence in Bitcoin. But there is a large obstacle stopping the currency from becoming mainstream, which is being included in the exchanges. In March 2017, the first proposal for a Bitcoin exchange trading fund was rejected by U.S. regulators in what could have been a real game changer for Bitcoin, but instead saw their currency price fall. With the failure to be accepted by a large institution, it makes it difficult to see how Bitcoin can grow and become a widely accepted and adopted currency. Further attempts are being made to get Bitcoin listed, which will likely determine its success. Bitcoin as a vehicle for international travel. The phenomenon of Bitcoins has taken over the financial and business world by storm. In a world where convenience is put at a premium, most people want to deal with something handy and avoid too much hassle. Being a virtual currency, Bitcoins have gradually started replacing the bulky traditional banknotes and checks. Businesses and banks are conducting awareness campaigns for their customers to take up this mode of payment, as it is stress-free and time-saving. The main advantage is that you can track past transactions and exchange rates on a Bitcoin chart. The following are further reasons why you should put Bitcoin on your list of must-haves. 1. It's universal. When you are traveling, the process of exchanging currency is quite cumbersome. This is especially worse when you are going to more than one destination. In addition, carrying large amounts of cash is not just tiresome but also risky. Bitcoins give you the comfort of carrying as much cash as you need in a virtual state. It is common among traders all over the world and hence saves the inconvenience of dealing with more than one currency. 2. It's less costly. When you trade using cash, you are subject to abrupt price changes in essential commodities. You end up spending much more than you had budgeted because of punitive exchange rates. Bitcoins is a global currency that has stable rates and value and will save you time and high fees. 3. It's secure. Bitcoins is fraud-proof due to the heavy cryptography that goes into its making. There are no incidents of hacking or leaking of people's personal information. When you use the conventional money transfer methods abroad, you are likely to fall into the hands of hackers who might infiltrate your bank accounts. With Bitcoins, you alone have access to your account and can authorize any money into and from it. 4. It's irreversible. As a seller, you probably experienced a situation where a client reverses an already complete transaction. Bitcoins protect you from such incidences, as these transfers cannot be reversed. You should be careful with your Bitcoins to avoid transferring them to a wrong person. 5. It's convenient. Unlike normal banks that require proof of identification to open an account, Bitcoins allow anyone to access it without asking for proof. Transactions are instant and are not limited to geographical boundaries or time zones, and there is no paperwork involved. To join Bitcoins, you only need to download the Bitcoin wallet and create an account. Predictions as to what the price of Bitcoin may become in the future. All over the internet, you can find forecasts and predictions by analysts. Bitcoin followers are enthusiasts pulling out facts to support their imagination of where the prices will reach, sometimes impossible or too good to be true. From Max Kaiser, who pointed out his view of BTC rising above $10,000, to analyst and expert Ronnie Moaz that stated Bitcoin against the US dollar could reach 15 to 20K in late 2020. Start of August 2017, SegWit protocol locked in and activated, while followed by the Lightning Network concept being tested out, which was made possible of the segregated witness malleability fix. BTC market cap moved, positioned itself very close to the 80,000 market capitalization, which represents 50% domination of the total virtual currency market cap. That would be 1% of gold's and just 50 million away from the MasterCard market cap. Within the next 2 to 3 years, the mining and Bitcoin creation will drop by half, leaving around 850 that will be formed each day. Continuing 4 years later, 2024, only 430 will be created, and so on. Approximately just over the 2030 mark, 2032, close to 99% of all Bitcoin that will exist will be already created and mined on the network. The next 1.6% will be a war to get their hands on them. With the mainstream factor taking global scale every day and more, at one point the fear of being left out will make people panic as they understand there is not much Bitcoin to be circulated around. Proportionally, with the demand at that point, the price will play its role and rise. If the same events take place like this year did, Bitcoin could easily be reaching over the $20,000 mark in late or approximately 2020. Experts predict Bitcoin could rise to 1 million. Could Bitcoin rise to 1 million? Theoretically, yes. Although, consider what that would mean. A price of 1 million each would translate to a total value of 16.35 trillion for all the Bitcoins in existence. Currently, the total value of Bitcoin is about 39 billion. Meanwhile, the U.S. money supply, M2, which includes all physical currency, demand deposits, saving accounts, and money market accounts, is about 13.5 trillion. And this is just one country's money supply. Bitcoin, on the other hand, is a truly international currency. In fact, U.S.-based transactions are one of the smaller sources of Bitcoin volume. With that in mind, consider that the global M2 money supply is estimated to be about 68.7 trillion, expressed in U.S. dollars. Expert point is that while Bitcoin would have to work a little, the total Bitcoin market value at 1 million each isn't an outlandish amount of money. Example, if the price of Bitcoin is 2,400 to 1 million, that would represent a rather mild gain when compared to the gains of the past 7 years. In fact, $100 worth of Bitcoin purchased 7 years ago when a Bitcoin was worth approximately 0.003 cents, would be worth roughly $80 million today, a gain of 800,000%. Meanwhile, a jump from 2,400 to 1 million would represent a gain of only 42,000. Chapter 7. Where do you store Bitcoin? Here are a few ways to store your Bitcoin that may be safer than others. 1. Online Bitcoin wallets. Wallets that can be accessed on the web from any internet-connected device. 2. Desktop wallet. A desktop wallet offers a number of advantages over an online wallet. While online wallets are easily accessed from anywhere in the world, they are also more vulnerable to potential hacking. Desktop wallets, on the other hand, are accessed only via your private computer, with personal security keys stored just on that machine. Thus, exposure of your security key online is reduced. Nonetheless, desktop wallets are still susceptible to hacks if your machine gets infected with malware designed to root out keys and steal Bitcoins. 3. Hardware wallet. More secure than a desktop wallet is a hardware wallet. These wallets are bits of hardware, external devices like USB sticks, which you can carry around on your person. An added benefit of a hardware wallet is the complete anonymity which you can transact. There is no personal information linked to the hardware, so no identifying data which could be leaked. Hardware wallets are resilient to malware, and if you happen to lose the wallet, you'll be able to recover the funds using a seed phrase. 4. Paper wallet. A paper wallet is also a relatively safe way to storing Bitcoin, although it requires a bit more advanced understanding of how digital currencies work. Generate a paper wallet online using any number of dedicated websites, or generate the wallet offline for even greater security. Paper wallets are stored easily because they don't take up a great deal of space, and they also offer true anonymity. They are simply a Bitcoin seed, written in some way on a piece of paper. Chapter 8. The best platforms used to trade Bitcoin. Based on research, here are the best platforms used to trade Bitcoin. Plus 500, AvaTrade, eToro, IG, XTB, Markets.com, Trade.com, Admiral Markets, UFX, and REX, among others. This has been Bitcoin Business, Investing, Trading, Mining, and Storing Tips. Written by Giles Reeves. Narrated by Warren Seegers. Copyright 2018 by Giles Reeves. Production copyright 2018 by Giles Reeves.